Pie Guy, Monsters, Kuro, Shadow. Long ago, the entertainment industry lived together in harmony. Then, everything changed when the creative bankruptcy attacked. Only the recast Master of All Retellings could stop them, but when the world needed them most, they vanished. 50 episodes passed and my friends and I discovered a new podcast, an episode named The Last Airbender Movie. And although their analytical skills are questionable, they have a lot to learn before they're ready to save your wallet. But I believe they can save the entertainment industry.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
All right.
Recast 50!
So, I am PIEGUYRULZ.
I'm MonstersReview.
I'm Kuro the Artist.
And I'm Shadow Streak.
50 episodes of the recast. We have a very special episode here for you. We are going to do a little bit of reminiscing, thanks to some people over on the Discord server bringing up some of their favorite moments of the recast. We're also going to talk about what we watched in the past week, but we're also going to talk about one of the best shows of all time and probably like the worst adaptation of anything.
Accurate. Yeah.
And by that, I mean, of course, Avatar and The Last Airbender. So, Monsters, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm excited. It feels like, there's something worth celebrating for. It's 50 episodes. It's been exactly a year since we started this. I can't say that when we did start that it would turn into what we have now, but it's been a really cool journey so far.
Heck yeah. Kuro, how you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. Keeping busy as always. I can't believe it's 50 episodes.
Yeah, haven't had you on since you stormed out of the Toy Story 4 podcast.
Yes, that's true. I couldn't handle the different opinions. I had to go clear my head and watch it more in spite of you all.
Yeah. And then Kuro went on to single-handedly make Toy Story 4 a blockbuster hit. No, but you're doing good, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
Nice. I heard recently some Fusion Fall stuff going on with you, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm teaming up with the guys at Fusion Fall Universe. It's the name of this group of people that's been rebuilding the original Fusion Fall game, calling it Fusion Fall Retro, and trying to like revive a whole bunch of lost elements that the game would have had before it got canceled. And we're doing this thing where like I help give the game more exposure, like do some videos on it, try to highlight some cool facts about it. I recently did a video about a whole bunch of lost media from the game. And they put in some game items from my comic 5 years later, which is pretty neat.
Ooh.
Nice.
We got some more items coming soon, so that's going to be pretty fun.
There's a new chapter of 5
you.
years later coming out pretty soon, right? Chapter 8?
Yes, August 29th, Chapter 8, almost a year in the making.
Ooh.
And I can't wait to release it so I never have to think about it again.
And we're also joined with Shadow Streak.
Hey, how's it going?
I mean, I was supposed to ask you that, but
I know, that's my default response anytime anyone introduces me. I'm doing
Shadow's
pretty
very
well.
nice.
Yeah, I am. Thank you. No, I'm doing pretty well. Pretty chill. Last weekend, I attended BronyCon, which was pretty fun. I had a lot of fun there. It was really cool getting to meet a bunch of people, and, it was a pretty fun vacation. So I'm back.
Nice.
I had a great time. I got an autograph from Rebecca Schoiket, which was really dope. She misread my name as Shadow Steaks, so that's pretty cool.
Is that like the French version of Rebecca Sugar?
Sure. Yeah. No, more like the Canadian version, but
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, but no, it was a good trip. I'm feeling great. So,
Oh, that's great. And I'm doing good as well. Before we start here, Monsters and I have something for you guys for joining us on, oh gosh, something like cumulatively, like, what, maybe 15 episodes together?
Yeah, it's
probably.
been quite a few.
So in honor of that, I want to gift you guys each a month of Discord. Nitro.
Oh, thank you.
Wow.
That's really nice of you,
Oh,
man.
thanks.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you guys for helping us and being on our podcast and being great guests.
For being a part of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. It's always a blast to come on here.
Absolutely.
Congratulations, Pi. After like 11 years of YouTube, you've hit 75,000 subscribers.
Wow. Well, don't like qualify it like that. That just makes it sound really sad.
Well, no, it's not sad. It's a milestone.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's an achievement. It's another peak of the mountain.
Okay. Well, I didn't hit 75,000 subscribers until I started doing the recast with you, Monsters. So you are owed a lot of
Oh, stop
gratitude.
it. Stop it.
No. Well, I hit it when you were on the recast. Most of the videos this year have been the recast, so
Congratulations.
Yay!
by
You're
the
not
way.
wrong.
be gracious.
That's awesome.
All right, cool. Thanks for making it weird. All right. So moving right along, Monsters, did you see anything interesting in the past week?
Yeah, I've seen actually. I feel like I've seen more animation this week than I have in like 5 years.
Wow.
I've seen quite the amount of things. Starting with, I'm sure you don't want me to bring this up, the OKKO Let's Meet Sonic crossover. I watched that live when it was premiering. I have no attachment really to OKKO or Sonic, especially Sonic. I don't really know anything about
This
Sonic.
podcast renounces Sonic.
I guess I better leave then.
Yep, you're.
All right, bye guys. Thanks for having me on. See ya.
But yeah, I don't have any attachment to either of the two, but obviously there's quite a correlation between, you know, our circles in the cartoon community and the Sonic fandom, and a lot of people I know love OKKO. So I was just curious in the hype and I wanted to give it a shot. And it was decent. Personally, I didn't enjoy it as much as Crossover Nexus, which is like one of the only other episodes I've seen of OKKO. I think the Sonic crossover is more of a traditional episode in terms of just how it plays out with the plot, because Crossover Nexus is kind of like all over the place.
So what is it? Sonic just like pops into like Liquid Turbo Plaza or whatever?
Yeah, Sonic pops in and he's being deceived by some evil guy, and yeah, stuff ensues. Sonic has to rescue KO, that sort of thing. I do think that your enjoyment of the episode is relative, though, because like with Crossover Nexus, I feel like if I didn't have such an interest and passion and bias of nostalgic Cartoon Network, I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But all of those Easter eggs and little hints and music cues and everything added a lot to my enjoyment of it.
I feel like we all agreed at the time that like the worst part of that thing was the KO parts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of like that art style.
And I know a friend of the cast, and he was on last episode, Nintendo, just put out a video about every single reference that they made. And there's all these little things that I had absolutely zero idea about. There's obviously some points where I was like, okay, that's obviously referencing something. But no, the fan service was really heavy. So if you're a big Sonic fan, I think you'll enjoy it. If you're someone like me that doesn't really know anything about Sonic, probably not as much.
I have not seen it yet, but I need to.
I saw Nintendo's video on it. I didn't see the episode though.
All right, what else did you watch, Monsters?
So right before we were recording this, what would you call this? The first season, the first installment of Infinity Train. And this is the first season, or I guess like complete arc of an animated show I've seen in its entirety.
Ever?
Well, no. like airing alongside it.
It's the
since
first
Samurai
season
Jack
Monsters
season
finished.
5.
Let's give him a
Yeah!
round of applause.
It's a commitment. I usually don't like watching a lot of stuff, so it's, you know, it really shows something when I'm interested enough to and loyal enough to follow through with it.
Okay.
So yeah, Infinity Train. I think this is the first season of something I've seen since Samurai Jack season 5, which was all the way back in 2017. Animated shows, of course, and I'm not counting Planet Sheen because no. But no, I love Infinity Train. I really, really do. This is gonna sound weird. Like it's relatable, and like relatable has some interesting connotations to it. But even though the experiences that happen in the show don't exactly line up with my personal experiences that I can relate to, the feelings that they capture by having those different experiences are the same, and they translated to me very effectively. So it's super imaginative, obviously, with an infinite train that has different cars, each with like different environments. It's very funny, and I honestly can't wait for the next installment or season or whatever that'll be coming out, because I haven't seen Gravity Falls. I know that there's certainly some shows that I haven't watched that I probably should, but as of now, Infinity Train might be one of, if not my favorite animated show from the 2010s.
Wow.
And that's a pretty high pedestal. But again, I haven't seen a lot of things, and my opinion could change depending on that.
You haven't seen BoJack?
You haven't seen BoJack?
Yeah, like 5 episodes.
Yeah, I know. Monsters doesn't watch anything.
It's okay. I've seen I've seen 4
oh.
episodes of BoJack, so I'm with you, Monsters.
And then I saw something else, but I guess I'll wait until everybody else has gone to talk about that.
Kuro, what have you seen?
So I watched The Boys, which just came out on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I heard about that.
It was different than I thought it would be. It's basically like all superheroes are like secretly corrupt behind the scenes, sort of like just celebrities. It's really hard to talk about it without like spoiling it.
Spoil the first episode, I guess. What's the setup?
So there's this superhero group called the Seven, and they're basically just not knockoff Justice League characters, but they're like
parodies.
The Justice League without
one
being the
step
Justice
removed.
League. They're not like they're not like making fun of it, but there's like a Superman guy, there's a Wonder Woman, there's a Speed guy, and this average dude named Hugh. Him and his girlfriend are just walking through the street, and all of a sudden the speedster guy runs through her like accidentally because she was in the way and completely like obliterates her into like a pile of blood and gush. And he's like still holding her hands, which were the only things intact. And the speedster just looks at him and he's like, I can't stop, and then speeds off. And then Hugh, he runs into this guy named Billy Butcher, and he's like, he has this whole conspiracy about how these superheroes are like secretly like corrupt and evil, and they're selfish and they manipulate people and they're not really who they say they are. And he kind of gets roped into trying to help him take down the superheroes because he has a court case with the speedster guy. His name's A-Train. And he's like, you can use that to like plant a bug, and then it starts a whole series of events. And then there's also, from the other perspective, this new superhero, Starlight or something? I don't know. She joins the Seven. She's like the newest member, but she like actually wants to be a real hero, and like she's like being exposed to how corrupt everything is behind the scenes, like on her first day. So yeah, it's pretty good.
That sounds interesting. A terrible title.
Yeah, the title didn't make make any sense to me when watching the show until I realized it was based on a comic book from the 2000s, and in the comic book they like call themselves the Boys and everything. In the show they don't do that, so the title seems completely random. But
Interesting.
yeah, I'd recommend it if you guys got Amazon Prime.
You're always watching live action superhero adaptations.
Yeah, I don't know. they just always fall into my line of interest.
You excited for old man Bruce Wayne, Kevin Conroy?
Yes. Oh my God, I'm so hyped for Crisis. Like, I can go off on that.
That's the first time I'm actually gonna watch it.
No. Have you seen any Arrowverse show at all?
Nope, and I refuse to.
Oh man.
Adamantly.
You gotta see one. If you watch, just to get a feel for the show, watch it's like season 2, episode 8 of The Flash. It's called The Flash versus Arrow.
Okay.
And it's kind of just a good like introductory to the world without all the origin story. It's kind of like a little bit into the
We'll
show.
see. I have a thing against soap opera superhero shows, so I don't know. But
Oh yeah, no, it's completely cheesy, but you gotta be into that to enjoy
I just
it.
want
Like,
Kevin Conroy back as Batman.
oh man.
Anyway, Shadow.
Let's see. So there's a lot that I plan on watching tomorrow. Like I want to watch Infinity Train and I want to watch the OKKO crossover. But what I have seen is I've been watching Final Space Season 2. I don't know if any of you guys have watched Final Space at all.
Nope.
Yeah, nope.
No? Okay. Well,
What's that about?
it's kind of like it's like a more serious Rick and Morty in the sense that it's a sci-fi themed show. It takes place in outer space. It follows this guy named Gary and his crew of robots and aliens, and they're trying to discover final space and, you know, blah, blah, blah. It's a serialized show where they go to different planets, and season 1 was about stopping this bad guy. Season 2 is about collecting these MacGuffins. The basic premise is that, but there's a lot of cool characters and a lot of cool worlds, and each episode has very interesting sci-fi concepts. And it's actually made by Olin Rogers, who was a former, I mean, he still kind of is a YouTuber, but he was more popular back in like the early 2010s, which is really cool because it's made by, you know, a YouTuber who eventually grew into making a cartoon, which I like.
Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, it's honestly a very entertaining show for me. I know a lot of people had some criticisms with season 1 in regards to the humor and things like that, but I honestly think that season 2 has been an improvement, at least from what I've seen. And I'm really enjoying it so far. So if you guys are interested in like a serialized space show like that, I definitely recommend giving it a shot because it's very entertaining, and it's actually animated by Shadow Machine, which is surprising because the way it seamlessly flows is like much different from what you typically expect from them. And it actually kind of blows my mind in a lot of ways. It's very good at incorporating 3D CGI and 2D, which I know like a lot of cartoons, when they try to incorporate CGI, it kind of just completely clashes. But Final Space seems to make it work in the way they utilize it.
Interesting. All right, so I saw Static Cling, but more on that later. I saw DuckTales, finally. I saw more than the first episode that they put on YouTube. I saw the two most recent episodes, The Duck Knight Returns and The Dangerous Chemistry of Gandra D. One of the things that I learned about DuckTales 2017, apparently, is that it's like a big ensemble cast. There's a lot of characters in the original DuckTales, but in this show, like, The Duck Knight Returns, only Dewey of the three main little ducklings is in the episode. The rest of it focuses on the new Darkwing Duck and Launchpad. Like, they're the main characters of the episode. And similarly, in the other episode I watched, Fenton, not Danny, but Fenton and Huey are like the main characters of that one. Dewey and Louie don't appear in that episode. I don't know if this is like it for all the episodes, but for at least the two that I've seen, it's kind of cool that they focus on these like extended members of the Duck family. The Duck Knight Returns in particular, I mean, if you like things that like kind of make fun of reboots and point out the ridiculousness of reboots and all that sort of thing, that's certainly it. It kind of lampoons the Dark Knight a little bit, but it does some really interesting things with it. I never watched Darkwing Duck as a kid, so I didn't have any like nostalgia for that character. But even still, like, I was able to see, like, wow, they're really honoring what this character was, and they're really putting a really different spin on it. I really appreciate that the show, like, has these characters that are more than just kind of surface level, because that's what a lot of the 80s show was. Like, it just kind of was, like, one-note stereotypes. Huey, Dewey, and Louie didn't have different personalities.
Yeah, weren't they just, like, palette swaps of each other, too?
Yep. Just different colors. But no, the DuckTales and I want to watch more of it. These were just the episodes that were for free on Disney now. But from what I've seen, DuckTales seems like the absolute ideal reboot in that it just fleshes so many of these characters out. You know, it takes some of the designs and ideas from the original show, but it runs in completely different and modern directions with the stories that I don't know, we might actually have trouble finding episodes to do a recast on, because although they incorporate like a lot of things from the original show, it's just so drastically different. Like, for instance, there's an episode in the second season called Treasure of the Found Lamp. The DuckTales movie was called Treasure of the Lost Lamp. There's references in Treasure of the Found Lamp to Treasure of the Lost Lamp, but I don't think it's like a direct retelling.
Wait, so is the 2017 show supposed to be like in the same continuity as the original?
No,
okay.
It's a reboot. It's a reboot. The episode 1, the three of them don't know that Scrooge is related to them. So, yeah.
Okay.
I recommend it. And at some point, we'll probably do a recast on it when we can find the right episodes. Monsters, what else did you watch?
Static Cling.
Oh, all right. Well, more on that later then.
Yeah.
All right. So now we are going to move on to recast memories. You guys remember the recast?
Reminiscing.
So I guess to start this off with, I don't think we talked about this, but Monsters and I had a lot of different titles for the podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, our title is kind of a lot of different titles, and we basically exclusively refer to it as the recast because the full name was kind of long.
Yeah.
We titled it really long because we figured that somewhere out there's another recast. And like, although there are a few other recast podcasts, they seem to be like very, very different or no longer making episodes or whatever. So we're not really as concerned about that confusion. So here's some of the names we got. The Pie Monster Podcast, Piecast Reboot Podcast, the Pie Review, what? Animorons, Cartoon Pie Days, which is a take on your old show. Yeah. Pie Monsters and SETI. This is the first time I'm looking at these in a while. What? And then you had tagged here, Play on Ed and Eddie. I know, bad pun.
Oh yeah, no, that was a really crappy pun.
Totally Scholars Podcast, The Monster Pie, The Storyboarding Room, which is weird because we don't have anything to do with storyboarding. Pie Guy and Monsters Excellent Adventure, P&M Podcast, Picture Perfect Podcast. Oh, Adults Watching Cartoons, and the Film Degree Podcast.
A lot of those are jokes.
Yeah, that's true.
Out of all those, I wouldn't have minded a Pie Monster. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Not all of those were serious ones. I figured that would be an interesting look back.
Yeah, what was that one with like pie in it twice? Like the Pie Cast Pie
Oh,
something.
it's just a reference to the Pizza Party podcast.
Oh.
Picture Perfect podcast. To kind of start off the reminiscing, we're not going to go through every episode here, but we opened up a Discord chat for some people to talk about their favorites. Kirby over yonder says that his favorite recast is I Remember You versus Simon and Marcy. Adventure Time is one of my favorite shows, and I got to rewatch 2 of my favorite episodes. Plus, Leah is always a fun guest. Oh, and they also read what I had to say about the episodes, and that was really cool. That was a really good podcast, I think.
Yeah.
As Kirby mentions, like, these are 2 really good episodes, and anytime I get to rewatch them is like a gift.
That was my first time watching those, because I kind of stopped paying attention to Adventure Time later on.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys have favorite episodes that you've been on?
I liked when we voted for the Kids' Choice Awards. I forgot which one that was.
I think that was
for.
20. No, you weren't there 20.
30. That was 30.
That was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, someone mentioned that they liked that.
Because that was Spider-Verse too, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites. We always go back to this, but that Ben 10 trivia, where I said both,
Oh,
hands down, probably my favorite moment ever.
Mm-hmm.
that was I think my second time on.
That was episode 10.
Yeah.
Was that the first time you had 4 people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good times.
Mm-hmm. How about you, Monsters? Do you have like a favorite episode?
I have a few. Like, obviously, the Planet Sheen one was a lot of fun because I subjected people to watch that show.
Yeah.
Just like myself, kind of share some empathy.
That's my favorite thumbnail that I made.
That's a really cool thumbnail. I love that one. The Bojack one was cool.
Mm.
The old Sugarman place and the Tuca and Birdie one. Jelly Lake Cabin.
Yeah.
Those were really cool because those were episodes of the shows that I hadn't seen before and made me more interested to watch them, even though I have not. Mm-hmm. And also, the anniversary episodes have been really fun. 10, 20, 30.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we have you two on, it's always a really fun time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my favorites are a lot of the ones that have already been mentioned, but it's a really early episode, but the Rocco and Camp Laszlo one. Yes. I like that one just because of really putting you on the spot with Camp Laszlo out of nowhere, where you just
I
were
had to
not...
make a stand. I had to be like, I will not allow anybody to crap on this show.
I feel like that episode kind of helped like solidify some of our banter, I guess.
Well, that was like one of the first times in the cast that we've had like an actual disagreement.
Yeah.
Because before then it was just kind of like we're on the same page, and then like you were like, "Oh, Monsters, I forgot to tell you, I watched most of the first season of Camp Laszlo, and it sucks." And I was like, "No, this is not happening."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, Monkey See Doggy 2 was also a fun one. I enjoyed arguing with Shadow.
That was fun, yeah.
Because that was just such a weird, I don't know, just a weird kind of rehash that you don't see too often. That it's a clip show, but it's only clips from one episode.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
And it's like a parody too.
I think that's giving it too much credit.
No, I think
I
think it's a pure parody. I think it's great. But we already had this argument, so let's just push that to the side.
And then, I'll also say the very first episode. I'm sure if we were to listen back to it, it would be a bit awkward, but I think there was a certain amount of bonding over just how surprising it was that Teen Titans Go just literally remade an episode of Teen Titans, and no one ever talked about it, really. Like,
yeah.
With all the talk that Teen Titans Go gets, like, why no one ever mentioned that one? Oh, and another favorite moment of mine, the first live cast, which was Finding Nemo and Shark Tale, when my cat was sitting on my lap and then all of a sudden just, like, jumped off of me and, like, held onto my hands to try to get back on. She like, reverse Lion King'd me. That's a pretty memorable moment for me. You could hear me yell in the podcast. It was a live recording, so... anything can happen. Remember that time when Leia wasn't on the podcast for the first 7 minutes?
Yeah. Yep.
Carl, did you ever listen to that one?
I remember coming in... Wait, in the live one?
No, that wasn't the live one. That was the first time we had Leia on the podcast for Steven Universe.
Mr. Greg and the Keystone Motel.
Right.
I think.
Yes. Leia's recording crapped out, and my backup recording, I actually had forgot to turn it on, and I remembered about, like, 17 minutes into the podcast. So basically we had to put out like a little PSA that's just like, hey guys, we're going to try to edit around this as best we can, but Leia's not in the podcast for the first 10 minutes. Just kind of ignore the weird conversations we kind of have with her. I think it turned out all right. I feel like I might have edited some of that. I don't know.
Oh man, it's funny you mentioned that because when we were 10 minutes into recording this one, I was half paranoid that I forgot to start recording.
Did you?
And I was like, oh man. No, I didn't, thank God. I was like, oh, we've already been 10 minutes in. We're going to have to redo all of this. But nah, we're good.
I also enjoyed, what was it? War of the World versus Vengeance of Vilgax? Was that?
Oh, yes.
That
was a fun discussion.
Back with a Vengeance. Yeah. Just because those were two really good episodes.
Yeah, and I think I was the only one that sided with the Ben 10 Alien Force episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I got talked into going with the classic one. But yeah, I think that's like one of the only, if not only, times we talked about Ben 10 in a positive manner.
What?
I mean, like we did, this wasn't the recast, but we did that one video where it was like trying to explain the plot lines. Mm-hmm. Then we did Freaky Gwenben compared to the
that's not
other one with Charmcaster.
Neither of those were great episodes.
Certified pie guy persuasion. That happens to me sometimes. Don't worry, Kuro, you're not alone. He'll give his opinion and it'll make you reconsider and be like, you know what, I'm wrong.
Yep, I speak in objective voice, so we had some kind of surprises, like recast number 12. I don't know about you, monsters. This was the real and scary episode where it was Fairly Odd Parents and Danny Phantom. We had Ash on for that, actually, your collaborator, Kuro.
Oh yeah.
And that one surprised me because I always, I always tend to prefer Danny Phantom over like Fairly Odd Parents. So just kind of like those more story things. But that Danny Phantom episode,
oh, it was trash.
How could the Halloween episode of a ghost show be so bad? And then that Fairly Odd Parents episode is way better than it had any right to be. Like,
yeah, real and scary.
Yeah.
The song alone hooks it.
How about when we did Star Warners and Quack and the Quarks? That one, I like. It's one of the most bizarre things we've done because it's not only like two episodes that kind of do the same thing, but they do the same parody of the same movie. They're both specifically parodying Star Wars Episode 4, and they're both Warner Brothers related.
Yeah.
Of course, there's recast number 20, R.I.P. Kuro.
Revenge of the Sick.
Yep. That was a crazy cast. 2 hour and 48 minutes. That was one of the longest casts for a while. I mean, it still is one of the longest casts.
Right.
I'm taking a look at all the recast episodes, and I want to give a shout out to your thumbnails too.
Yeah, like, shout out to Pie Guy's really thumbnail game.
Yeah, for real.
Thank you.
Like, you guys gotta take another look at them if you haven't really.
Trust me, sometimes like Pie Guy is like, "Hey, I'm running a little bit low on time. Can you make a thumbnail?" And I'm like, "I'll try." And I am so bad at making these thumbnails. So it's Pie Guy's thing. He is so good at making those thumbnails.
I mean, when I'm running lower on time, I have you just like pull the images, and you're pretty good at pulling the images. You did a really good job. You pulled the Mysterio images last week. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Of course, there's got a mega shout out the Johnny Test episode.
That's a fan favorite.
Yeah, I think that is one of the funniest episodes. Nintendo did a great job. I still cannot understand if he likes or hates that show. It's just the eternal mystery.
All right, we got one from Kremla1995, and they say their favorite recast episode is the Johnny Test episode, and nothing against the other episodes, but that is the one recast that I actually went back and re-listened to.
Wow.
I think it's the closest thing to a recast done where everyone's inebriated.
Wait, which one?
The Johnny
Test episode.
Oh. Also a good thumbnail, not to toot my own horn.
Yeah, deep fried. Other moments they like are the live casts, the Kids' Choice Awards voting, Pokemon Ping Pong, the Adventure Time discussion with Leah, and also being called out in the Duck Amuck episode for saying that the audio version of the podcast works on Spotify. Monkey See Doggy 2 as well, because that's the first one where they started watching the episodes assigned. So by that, I'm assuming they watched along with us, and that's pretty cool.
Nice. That's the optimal way to enjoy the recast, I think.
For recast number 27, the live one, I take back the thumbnail compliment. That Nemo half onto that Will Smith fish face is horrifying.
That's one of the best ones.
It's Will Fish.
I like how you put it just only on a half of his head.
Well, because they're both. So the weird thing about that thumbnail, right? Both of those come from the DVD release of Shark Tale and Finding Nemo. Both of them have these characters' big, fat, stupid-looking faces. I love you, Nemo, but I'm sorry. It's just not a good DVD cover. You know the ones you see in the store where it's just like, here's the DreamWorks character or the Pixar character's face plastered on it and nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why it's like that, because it's just from both of those.
Bland backgrounds. Yeah.
Yep. And of course, I mean, it was recent, but the Truth or Blowout cast.
Yeah, that was a good one.
I think that one ended up on the truth side of things. I don't think it was a blowout.
We were there in square.
Yeah. A guy named Crystal says, the recast has been my favorite podcast to listen to for the past year. I've been listening since the first episode was released and have listened to every episode so far. I find the podcast to be welcoming to listen to, if that makes any sense, and I've enjoyed hearing what Pie, Monsters, and the guests they bring on have to say about what they're covering. I also really enjoy being a part of this server. I think many of the people on here invoke really good discussion. My favorite episodes released so far have been It's a SpongeBob Christmas Who on the Moon. By the way, we haven't talked about the titles.
Yeah.
Spider Mentor, I Remember Simon and Marcy, Birdie and Bojack's Old Summer Cabin, and Truth or Blowout. I also personally enjoy it whenever the Sonic the Hedgehog movie is discussed in the news.
Yes.
As I am Monsters and Pie Guy's opinions on it to be hilarious. I'm also glad that I've been able to listen to the first 3 live podcasts as they were live streamed, and I hope I'm able to do the same for any future ones.
Thanks for the
We got a
support.
#1 fan right here. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
thank you, Crystal. That's very nice. Thank you everyone who submitted to the chat, and thank you everyone who's listened. Really, we might not be here a year later if we didn't get the support we did, but we've had some pretty overwhelming support for this podcast.
Oh yeah. The server is amazing. Even the people that comment, it's just been really, really cool to have such really helpful and interactive reception, and it's helped make the podcast a really cool experience.
Mm-hmm. They love you guys too. Shadow, you were on the podcast like 4 times in a span of like 6 episodes.
Yeah, something like that.
no one said anything. No one complained. Everyone was like, "Yeah, Shadow again." So
That's
you know,
good. That's good.
I know we have at least like one Ben 10 superfan who's very excited every time you're back on the podcast, Kuro.
Yeah, I'm here for you out there.
I guess I'll talk about the guests too. So I want to thank, obviously, the 2 of you, but I've already done that. But I want to thank Eric, also goes by Rumham, who's on our Adventure Time episode, Cosmodor, Nathaniel Bandy, Chugga Conroy, Future Gohan, Or Ash, Leia C., Nikki, the Imaginative Artist, Joey T, Cartoon P, Cellspecs, Nintendo, Animat, Phantom Strider, Awestruck Vox, Kevin, and Tom, question mark from the roundtable. Thank you guys for all being on the podcast. We've had overwhelmingly positive experiences talking with you. We've had a lot of really great and knowledgeable people come in and talk about these shows. The Looney Tunes episode wouldn't have been, I don't think it would have been anything if it wasn't for Animat being on there and like blessing us with all that knowledge.
Oh, yeah.
He really
it's been
brought
so
a lot.
cool meeting all these people, because especially for the podcast, a lot of these people I spoke to for the first time when we were recording the podcast. So just speaking animation and cartoons and whatever else with, I guess, complete strangers at the time, some of these people have become my friends, and it was really cool because I've met a lot of people, and we have a recurring amount of guests that have come back to speak with us, and the interaction of it's great.
No one said no to a return appearance that we've asked.
Yeah,
So that says something, hopefully.
we have a pretty great turnover. No, I'm joking.
Well, we asked Cosmodor to come back for the worst things, so
yeah,
that says
that's
something.
that's the thing. Yeah.
Right. We made Chugga watch Truth or Square for the first time.
Yep.
That's something. And eventually when we do a Sonic recast, we'll have like half these people arguing over who gets to be on it.
Yeah.
But no, I thanks to all of you for being on the podcast. And thank you too, Monsters. I didn't get a chance to thank you.
Oh, thank you too, Pie Guy. Because this is on your channel. This is where you host it, and for giving me the opportunity to run the show with you has been a pleasure.
I don't want to sound like I'm bragging or whatever, but it is really refreshing when you're as into cartoons as we are to every week get a platform to come on and just talk about something new with sometimes new people, sometimes returning friends, sometimes just with monsters. It's just like a lot of fun. Like there are, you guys can attest to this, that like basically every time it's the four of us, we end up start talking about the feature thing that we're supposed to talk about beforehand, just because we're so bursting at the brim to talk to each other about it.
Yeah.
Like before this, we were like, "Oh man, the Last Airbender," and then we were like, "Nope, can't say anything. Nope, can't talk about it."
Yeah.
So it's really nice to get to do that.
Yeah, I will say doing the recast has opened me up to a lot more of this just free form unscripted talking. Like that's something I was always very nervous about doing in YouTube. Like even to this day, all my videos are very, very heavily scripted. But like in the recast, it's nice to kind of just like throw your thoughts out there and bounce them off people who are also as equally interested in what we're discussing. And then there's the people watching the show who like give feedback, and we read the feedback every week. And it's just, I don't know, it's nice to make it more of like a natural type of experience rather than just like, this is our review, very by the book and all of that. It's a good vibe we have going here.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I can also say the recast has improved some of my communication skills.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kuro, do you feel like maybe you've become a better debater because of the recast?
I feel like I've gotten better at not stuttering.
That's true.
Yeah, I stutter a lot normally. Yeah, the recast has definitely changed my perspective on just recording YouTube videos in general, I guess. And yeah, I'd say it's helped debating a little bit. That debate we did over on my channel is still pretty good. I still get comments on that every now and
Nice.
This podcast has made us better at arguing with each other.
then. Yeah.
That's my favorite thing. That's why I love when Kuro's on, because no matter what, I basically get to argue with him over what we're talking about. Almost.
Yeah, I can't wait to convince you guys that this movie is better than the TV show.
Oh goodness! All right, well that's a good segue to what we're talking about next week. It's actually not a great segue to that, but we're getting to the feature discussion. Hang on.
Yeah.
So next week on the recast, we're actually going to be here. We said we were going to take a long break, but you know what? We're not going to do that.
Yeah.
Well, we had like a few extra days because this podcast is coming out in a regular schedule, and Monsters and I, we sorted things out with the podcast.
We'll call it a comeback.
We're not like having issues or anything.
Yeah.
Basically, we have some changes that we are going to make to the podcast. Basically, everything is going to stay. Like all the stuff we talk about is going to stay. It's just going to be maybe rearranged in the order in which we talk about it. Maybe some topics are going to be rotated in and out. Maybe, you know, we've got tweaks that we're going to make, and you're going to see starting in the 51st episode next week. But otherwise, yeah, we'll be here.
We'll be here in B Square.
You're stuck with us like static cling, which is what we're talking about next week.
Whoa, that's a
That's a
better
good segue.
Yeah, of course, the Rocco TV movie came out the day we're recording this.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like if it came out a week before or like a few days before even, we might have had time to do something with it for the 50th cast, since static cling is something that we've mentioned again and again and again on this podcast.
We had that like teaser footage a year before the podcast even started.
Yeah. But you know, it'll be the 51st episode, and we're going to be comparing static cling to I Have No Son, which is a 2-part episode from Rocco's Modern Life. Tune in next week for us finally talking about that, and the closest thing Monsters will ever get to Camp Lazlo coming back.
Yeah, unfortunately.
All right, and with that, we are going to go on a break, but when we come back, prepare for a very lengthy and heated discussion on the Last Airbender film and the first season of Avatar. And we are back! So, this is the first time we're comparing, like, one thing to basically, like, a ton of episodes. You guys watched an assorted booked one that lined up with the events of the movie, kind of. I ended up just marathoning all of season 1 because, like,
Wow.
I just couldn't stop. It's so good.
Yeah.
The show is so good. So the way we're going to do this is we're not going to be sitting here reviewing it like every episode of season 1 of Avatar, but we are going to talk about just the movie and then kind of compare it back to the show. And if we have any comments on the show itself, we can say them, but we're not going to be going through each episode. Capiche?
Kaposh.
So the story of The Last Airbender is that M. Night Shyamalan has no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, and his kids love the show. So he was like, hey, this is pretty good. I should make a movie about this.
I mean, I guess to be a little more serious, the story is Sokka and Katara find a boy trapped in an iceberg who immediately gets kidnapped by the Fire Nation, and they go off on a journey with him to the North Pole where they have a big battle with the Fire Nation.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does anyone here like this film, Kuro?
I will start off by saying something positive. I think the scenery and the sets and everything is spot on.
I think
Okay.
the production design is pretty solid. I agree with that.
And I can tell, like, just because of the vast size of the Northern Water Tribe, the sets had to have had CG added onto it just because it was so expansive, and it was pretty seamless.
The CG looks pretty good.
Well, the environmental
Yeah.
CG, some of the water bending.
Excuse me.
was a little...
Don't forget about Appa's face.
Yeah, that was a big mistake.
God, he
gotta
looks
have big
awful. And
pupils.
remind you, like, this movie came, it's about almost 10 years old now.
For 2010, it's not bad.
It came out the year after Avatar.
Okay, but let's compare budgets.
Well, I'm just saying.
I mean, it's less about like the technology and the shape of the face. Like the actual model of Appa is just horrifying.
Yes. I didn't expect like amazing CG. I'm just saying better things have been done around that time.
Yeah,
it's
that's
not.
true. It's not a technical achievement by any means.
I mean, 2010 was after, we're into superhero movies and stuff. Like, think about Avengers was only 2 years after.
Yeah.
Yeah, Iron Man already aired. I mean,
Yeah. I watched this in theaters. Did any of you guys?
Yeah, I did too.
I did, and I didn't know a single thing about Avatar: The Last Airbender when I did.
Whoa,
Oh,
no way.
Oh,
So my
no.
first ever experience with the whole franchise in general was this movie.
Oh my god.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It's like it was weird because like my sister was into the show, and so she wanted to go see the movie. So I came, and when I saw it, I was like, "This looks kind of familiar." And then I was like, "Oh yeah, there's a Nickelodeon show." And coincidentally, they were doing the pop-up fact marathon of it, the show. So I watched the entire show that summer, like with the pop-up facts. So I got like the crash course on the series. Then I went back and watched the movie again, and was like, "Okay, I get it."
Wow. This is hands down the worst movie I've ever seen in theaters.
I think I agree with that.
There's a review from 2010 of me just standing there like ranting about this movie.
It's so bad. It's so bad.
I can't imagine, Kuro, like what you must have been thinking when watching it, because let me put it this way, just to preface it. As someone who literally watched the entirety of season 1 of Avatar in 2 days, right before watching the movie still confused the heck out of me. I literally know the story of Avatar, and yet the way the movie presents information is so confusing that I couldn't follow it.
Yeah, there was way too much exposition. Like they show up at the Northern Water Tribe, and then Katara's like, Sokka and Yue became good friends, and then all of a sudden they have like a relationship.
You mean
I'm like,
Sokka?
Yes.
Sokka, sorry.
They don't know Aang's name. They don't ask him his name until the Southern Air Temple. Literally 2.5 episodes of the show have gone by. They don't even know his name. They decide to go off on a journey with him before asking what his name is.
Oh yeah, you might as well tell me your name. Oh, it's Ung.
Aang.
He's the Avatar.
Sorry, what was that? It sounded like you stubbed your toe or something.
The Arvatar.
Avatar. Like Avatar Ong.
The Larvatar.
Yeah, there's Zuko and Uncle Iroh.
Oh, Iroh.
Zuko got his face burned from an Agni key.
Agni Key.
I can't
Random
believe
point.
this
Why
movie,
did Zuko make this like kid leave his family and walk all the way up to him and just tell him about his story?
Because it shows.
He's like, and then the second he's done, he just immediately walks away. Like, oh well, people always ask me to recite the story, Zuko. It's just how it is.
Slightly off topic, that kid that said that story, he's like a Twitter comedian now that I follow.
Well, he was one of the most talented people in the movie.
That's like one of the only acting roles he's had. And I don't think he reflects on it very well.
Can we talk about how every line in this film... Okay, so... There's 2 actors in this movie, not including the little kid, that I think are actually, like, trying and doing a good job. And that's Zuko and Zhao. Everyone else in this film, and they're little kids. I'm not insulting them. I'm more insulting
They're teenagers.
the director. Every line is just said dead, emotionless. There isn't a line in this movie until Zuko has his first line that is said with any amount of emotion. It's literally like, my mother died by the Fire Nation, and my father had to go off to war. It's like, what is this, Little House on the Prairie? Like,
It's weird because Katara's like simultaneously over emotional while also having like no emotion.
yeah.
This literally ties into my biggest issue with the entire film, which is not only is like the acting completely stilted, but the script itself is abysmal.
It was written by Shyamalan.
It
There
is
were
so
times
bad.
where I just burst out laughing. Like, I remember one particularly. It's where Zuko like just arrives to the Southern Water Tribe and he's like, firebenders. And then all of a sudden he goes to a whisper and he's like, I'm taking you to my ship. If you don't come, I'll burn down this village. As if he's giving Aang a choice of whether or not he wants to go. He's like, if you don't come. Like, well, you have him strapped with these guards. Like, why are you saying it like that?
Who are you? My name is Katara, and I'm the last waterbender of the Southern Water Tribe.
Oh, there's another one that really got me. It was it's right when Aang escapes from the ship and they decide to set out on their quest. And Sokka goes, "We'll come with you." And Aang's like, "I can take you back to the village." And Katara goes, "We're going with you."
But they don't
like,
even have a place to go at that point. It's so dumb.
No.
Hey, can you guys tell me which one is better? Here's prompt A, but when the world needed him most, he vanished. And then prompt B, and then 100 years ago, he just disappeared.
Yeah. Like, when I saw that I was like, they actually
He just
put
disappeared.
just there. Like,
Come on!
oh my gosh.
For anyone who hasn't seen this movie, well, it opens up. Okay, so it opens up with 4 benders, like in the intro of the show. So you think, okay, they're gonna recreate the show. It also has an airbender like spazzing out like a tornado, looking like a complete
He
idiot.
just moves for like 10 seconds.
Yeah. But right after that, instead of like recreating the rest of the opening, instead, what did we get in 2010? The only movie in 2010, the only movie in like, what, 5 decades that isn't named Star Wars, that isn't to have a text crawl. Hey, let's take little Jimmy to go see his favorite Nickelodeon cartoon. Reading. A text crawl.
Also, why was only the air nomads? Like, they said fire, water, earth, and air nomads.
Yeah.
It's like the others don't get their title.
For some reason in this movie, they refer to everybody that can bend as a bender and not anything else. Like, when Zuko called for backup, he goes, "Firebenders!" Like, what? Why?
I like that the text crawl is literally just like the equivalent of like copying over the original show's intro, but like changing a few words so as not to look stolen. Like, that's literally what it is. It's like, yeah, instead of saying he vanished, it's like, oh, he disappeared. Like, how about their grandmother at the beginning who gives a speech about heart? Because, like, it's Captain Planet. Like, what's he gonna do? Well, he's going to change the hearts of people. War is won by the heart. What are you talking about, Gran? Like...
Yeah, Grand's supposed to be cool. Iroh is supposed to be cool.
Oh, Iroh mumbling through his lines, like... What? Oh, the exchange where, like, oh, you just do a simple test and you can go home. Oh, I thought I was going home now. Oh, well...
Well, most people fail and go home.
Yeah, like, oh, well...
I'm sorry, we should have explained more.
There is one thing I think this movie does better than the cartoon.
Have live action. What is it?
When Yue sacrifices herself for the moon spirit, and they have that shot where she's in the water, and you see the white in her hair drift into the water, and her hair is black. It's just like that one scene.
Okay.
I like that a lot. I liked seeing like her hair drain back. It's like you're seeing the life go back into the fish.
Well, in comparison to the show, she just disappears in the show, which is a little weird.
Yeah. And then doesn't she get like an outfit change too?
Well, she dies. She does die. Like, Sokka checks her pulse or whatever, and she's dead. And then her body just...
She becomes this
It's
ghostly
like Ashi.
spirit
Yeah.
thing, and they kiss, and then she's gone.
Yep.
My first
Yeah.
girlfriend was the moon. What'd you guys think about... it's very unfortunate, but the actor for Zuko in this movie had a little case of pink eye. I don't know if they thought we'd notice.
Dev Patel?
Yeah.
He's actually a really talented actor. I've seen him in a bunch of movies like Slumdog Millionaire and Lion. He is a really, really good actor.
You're not going to react to my joke about
Yeah,
the scar? All right. I was making fun of the fact that the scar is, like, pathetic in this movie.
Yeah, like you can't even see it sometimes in the lighting.
Yeah.
I was watching it was called a case study, like on Avatar. It was just a 30-minute long YouTube video, and the guy making it suggested that the guy who plays Zuko should have played Sokka because he's really good in comedic roles. and the Sokka we got in the movie was
Oh,
Sokka. Sorry, Sokka.
Yeah, Soka. Like
Soka.
I wrote down a list. The casting in this movie is absolutely awful.
Yeah.
And I remember when this movie came out, I was on like YouTube watching all of the behind the scenes features, so I know quite a bit about the behind the scenes process. So the reason why was cast is because
he looks like him.
he looks like him, but this is his first acting role.
Oh.
He had no prior acting experience. He just submitted a tape, and he shaved his head, and he had martial arts experience. So I guess M. Night thought that was
That's
enough to
it.
qualify for him for the role. So that was him. The actor who plays Sokka is Jackson Rathbone, who was most known at the time for being one of the vampires in Twilight. So take that as you will.
Okay.
And then the Katara actress, Nicola Peltz, her dad is a billionaire, so she got some gigs pretty easily, and her other well-known performances in Transformers: Age of Extinction.
Oh, is she the one with that weird relationship with Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah,
Ugh.
bad
Oh,
movie.
okay. Yeah, she's not making good choices in her films.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of weird, like, obviously there's been a lot of debate and discussion about the racial arguments with who should be casted with who, but it was kind of weird, like when they have flashbacks of Aang and he's just a white dude and everybody else is of Asian descent. And same thing with like Katara and Sokka.
They're Inuit in the original. Like, they're kind of inspired by that, right?
Yeah, and that's what all the extras are. But the grandma, Sokka, and Katara are all like pale white.
Yeah. I mean, all the firebenders are
Indian,
Middle Eastern,
I believe.
uh,
I think it's Indian.
yeah. Which in the show,
Which
they're
maybe
they're,
makes sense because that's what M. Night Shyamalan is, but I
I
don't know.
guess in the show they're all just white Asian, basically.
I believe Japanese inspired.
Right. One of the I think it was the villain in Imprisoned is George Takei.
Yes.
There's
Yep.
a bit of trivia for you.
I'll match that trivia. The actor playing Yue in the movie voices Asami and Korra.
Really?
Mm.
Yeah, so I guess she was trying to redeem herself.
I'm trying to remember what her performance was like, but
In the movie, it was horrible.
It was very static, just her smiling.
Like, I feel bad because like she's really good as Asami, but like just the eyes alone. Did they do some type of effect, or was she wearing contacts?
I think
She's
she was
like,
wearing colored contacts.
Jeez,
That's what I'm saying.
That was a bad move.
it has to be the director because there's no way that like almost everyone in this movie is deadpan. Like okay, so Avatar, you guys watched the first 2 episodes. It was goofier than I remember, to be honest. Very, very early,
Yeah.
the first 2 episodes, really. The penguin sledding line, I haven't cleaned my room in 100 years. I remember Nickelodeon, marketed the heck out of the show with that line only. And so I was thinking, okay, well, if you're going to remake it, you could take it a little more seriously. It would be a little more in line with the rest of the show. But God, this movie, I counted one joke. I counted one joke in the entire movie when Katara accidentally freezes Sokka. Not that it's a good joke, but did you guys see any other attempts at humor in this movie?
There was at the very beginning when Appa crushes Sokka with his tail. But,
Oh, that's right.
I don't even know if that's. They don't even play it like a joke, really.
My favorite joke was when the title card book 1 showed up, as if they were going to make more of these.
Yeah. My favorite
The
joke
last.
was the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
My favorite joke was the whole film, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, another thing. The Kyoshi Warriors were supposed to have a scene in this movie, but it got cut.
Because Haru is more important than the Kyoshi Warriors. Great.
Yeah. There's no Boomy. There's no Jet. The Northern Air Temple's featured, but they don't have.
All those gliding people.
Yeah.
All right, here's a question. What did you guys think of the bending fights?
Awful.
Oh my god.
God awful.
The fight choreography is one of my least favorite aspects.
Everything
of
is
this movie.
delayed.
It's absolutely awful.
It's so slow. It's painfully slow, especially when they're in the Earth Village. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
I
it
was
takes
just
like
sitting
5
there,
guys 10 seconds to lift a
yeah.
pedal.
And that shot was
Seriously.
so long too, so you can see them just waiting.
Why do they feel the need to just add all these flips and weird things?
Yeah, like whenever they're dancing by the water or whatever, like
It's based on real martial arts, the show. I've seen
Yeah.
behind the scenes.
They
It's
brought
not
consultants in to do that.
right. This is supposed to be real stuff, but instead it's just flip crazy stuff. And I think I said this in my initial review. All they had to do in this movie was give us cool bending fights. You know what? If they completely screwed up the story, if they completely screwed up everything else, and they just gave us really cool, realistic looking bending fights, at least I could walk away from the movie and say, that was a fun spectacle. But they couldn't even do that.
Remember when he made the giant wave though?
Oh my god.
I think the worst choreographed scene was the Blue Spirit part, because like the Blue Spirit and Ung get cornered by like 50 Fire Nation soldiers, and the Blue Spirit just like runs in with like this sword thing, and he just slashes, and there's 5 dudes that surround him in a circle but just take turns going at him. It's like, obviously Fire Nation soldiers are supposed to be stupid, like stormtrooper logic, but like realistically, if they all just went at him, like they would have destroyed him.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but this movie came out a year after Avatar. I'm just gonna keep using that as a reference point because it's funny. I'm talking about the Na'vi Avatar.
James Cameron Avatar.
And by which I mean to say, this was when Real D 3D was like, oh, every movie has to be 3D. Now, from now until forever, has to happen. Last Airbender was not shot in 3D. It's digitally edited in post 3D. And I wonder if that, which, by the way, I saw it in 3D. It looked terrible at the time, too. Yeah. I wonder if that reasoning of, well, we have to make these effects, like they had to do extra work, and so maybe less time in the actual effects. Like they had to make it play for 3D. You know what I mean? Like I wonder if that colored some of their terrible decisions. One of the definingly bad things about this remake is that for the first 45 minutes, basically they try to cram in as many episodes of the show as they possibly can. But the problem is there's no conversation between the characters. There's no emotional moments. There's nothing that builds up to it. It's just, here's a set piece from the show. You remember the Blue Spirit in the show? Oh, it's this big thing. Like Zuko and Aang have to team up, and it's a crazy fight where they get out alive. But it's like, they don't have any relationship at that point up until then. So what does it mean? It means nothing. It means nothing. They find the waterbending scroll. Why? Oh, because there's an episode called The Waterbending Scroll. That's it. There's no story reason.
In the show, there's so many parallels between Aang and Zuko, and they're absolutely perfect foil characters. But in the movie, there's literally, like, they don't spend any time with each other. They don't interact, and the only instance of them acknowledging their similarities is when Aang walks out and goes, "We could be friends, you know."
What does that have to do with anything, dude? But because he said it in the show, but in the Blue Spirit, not in that episode, not then. Like,
there's one thing that really bugged me about the Blue Spirit fight. There's a firebender that shoots like a stream of fire at Aang, and Zuko crosses his swords in front of Aang.
Oh,
yeah.
And the stream just disappears into the swords. It doesn't like get deflected. It doesn't get even like absorbed into the swords for whatever reason. It just disappears.
He's doing the hot knife challenge.
Well, and they take out all of the interesting things too. Like, what was interesting about that particular fight in the show? It was with these insane archers. Where are those archers in the movie? We see an archer standing next to Zhao.
we see the one archer shoot the arrow that breaks Zuko's mask once they've already escaped, but that's it. That's it.
Why did Haru turn from like a 20-year-old dude with a mustache into like a 10-year-old?
All right, so perhaps the biggest change of them all. How did you guys feel about them not being able to make fire from their bodies?
It's so dumb. It's so dumb because every fight from now until forever should just be, all right, dump some water on their fire source. Aang, blow a really strong wind at their fire source. Throw a rock on their fire source. That's it.
But then Iroh like does it at the end of the movie out of nowhere.
Yeah, and they mentioned that the reason why Sozin Comet is so powerful is that they can make fire without. But it's like Sozin's Comet it boosted their power. Like, we didn't need that. Why did he make that change?
Yeah, because if anything, it just makes the Fire Nation look like the weakest one, not the strongest, you know?
Yeah, right. There's not just fire lying around everywhere. Like, I know there's torches and stuff, but you could just put those out. Like, every fight should be over in 2 seconds.
I found it weird when Zuko threatened to burn down an ice village.
Yeah, I was like, all right, let's
like,
see
you can
that.
melt it. I don't know if you can burn it.
He also melted it with his hands, which if firebenders can't do that, then why was he able to do? Does that mean that Azula is gonna like use a Pikachu beat down move and she has to summon lightning from the sky when she goes to use it?
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
In the Siege part of the movie, Zuko just like does his own thing. In the show, he has like hypothermia. Like, he's clearly distraught from the cold. There's none of that. It's just like he's swimming through these glaciers and ice fields and nothing's happening.
The first 45 minutes of the movie is just the worst, most abominable thing. The last 45 minutes of the movie is a mostly faithful recreation of the last 2 episodes of the show. It's just awful because no one knows how to act. And they change weird things for weird reasons.
It felt like a lot was either changed or completely removed. Like, for example, one of the biggest changes that bothered me was once Zuko gets Aang, he just goes to this random circular room instead of, escaping out into the cold and hiding in this, like, cave or whatever. I was like, okay, he's just in a random room now? Like, I don't know, that kind of removed a lot of the tension that was in the original show. And like Aang returning to his spirit body where he, is that giant glowing light that allows Sokka and Katara to find him, which was like huge turning point. He's just, nope, that's gone. They just wander in the room and find him. Like, okay, how'd they know that?
The spirit world in this movie is awful.
Yeah. It's so bad.
It's so bad.
It's a filter. It's someone's like backyard patio with some tiki torches lit up.
Roku is
and
mentioned
a filter.
briefly, but Roku is, other than that brief mention with the statue, is completely absent. And instead his dragon is,
Yeah, isn't Roku supposed to be the dragon? Or is the dragon just
the
the dragon?
is his pet.
It's his Appa.
Oh, I thought they made like Roku into a dragon for this movie. For some
kind
reason.
of.
I don't. Maybe they did. I don't. But that doesn't make any sense because the Avatar can't be a dragon.
They don't toy with the spirit. There's episodes dedicated exclusively to the spirit world that explore all these weird creatures and things that take form, and it's so imaginative. In the movie, it just feels so bland.
Honestly, and for truly, I would be very curious to see what on earth they would do on Earth for the second and third movies, because like they omit so many things that are important here. And mind you, the show is over when he was making this. Like all of it was out. It's not like he didn't know where the story was gonna go. Like, how can you do things like omit Suki? Like, I just, it's weird. And why would you include, why Imprisoned of all episodes? It's not like it's like an unimportant episode, but it feels like a weird episode to devote so much screen time to. But I don't know. The first 45 minutes of this movie, like, I wasn't trying to praise when they get to the Northern Tribe, but what I was... when they get to the Northern Tribe halfway in the movie, it actually feels like a movie in that they spend more than one scene in a location. In the first 45 minutes, it's literally like, here's a scene at the Southern Air Temple. Next scene, they're in some random fire village. Next scene, they're in the Earth Kingdom. Next scene, it's Zuko. Next scene, it's Zhao having a conversation. It literally goes scene by scene. You're in a new location every scene. And because of that, there's absolutely no time for the characters to talk to each other. The longest conversation in the first half of this movie is uncomfortably close-up shots of Aang and Sokka and Katara, where Sokka's like, should we go from town to town helping people out? Yes, I think that would be a good thing to do. By the way, I don't know how to fire or earth or water bend. Oh, that's okay. We can do that. And then in the next scene, Katara's like, well, Sokka is worried about us going from town to town because he thinks we're being followed. It's like... No, the first 45 minutes of this, it's incomprehensible garbage. The last 45 minutes, it's a bad movie.
It's just an extended montage is what it is. And that scene where you brought up with the close-ups, I wanted to comment on that as well. That was abysmal cinematography. Like, you can barely even see them.
God, yeah.
Like, they're not even reacting. So what's the reason for the camera to be that close to their face if we can't even read anything off of it? And like the whole conversation, Sokka goes, a lot of the villages, we should probably help them. And then Aang out of nowhere is like, I ran away before they trained me to be the Avatar. And then they're like, why did they train you? And he's like, well, you see, I just didn't want to. And then all of a sudden, Katara's talking about the Water Tribe. And it's like, you're talking about like 5 different things in the span of 30 seconds. And it's like, there's no like seamless transitions into these things. You just cut to the next topic.
It reminds me of that Pokemon thing where it's just like, where one of the characters is like, Ash is like, what does this mean? And then Brock goes on for like 2 minutes explaining it. Except there's like scenes that consist of that, but like 5 times over in this movie.
What about like themes? Okay, here's the thing. Avatar as a show generally had a theme to each episode and kind of like morals here or there. It also had character arcs through each season and through the whole show. And throughout the first season, Aang becomes more and more comfortable with being the Avatar in the show. In the movie, there's themes of him not wanting to be the Avatar. There's themes of like, there's no theme of Sokka like trying to become a better warrior or anything because he's not comic reliefy at all ever. But it's just like by the end of the movie, because so much weird things have happened, like when he bows, he looks constipated. Can I ask, what did you guys feel? Is that him accepting his role as the Avatar, rejecting it? Does he have to poop? What is he conveying in that very last scene before the stupid teaser for season 2?
I didn't like seeing Katara and Sokka bow to Aang.
That was super weird.
Yeah, like what is that?
How about that shot where it shows like a dozen Fire Nation soldiers that bow to him too? It's like,
Wait, really?
yeah.
Yeah, there's Fire Nation soldiers just
Because
bowing
remember
to
how
him.
some of them got blocked in there from the wave, and
Oh,
all the
right.
ships left? Yeah, there's just a dozen of them there, and they all bowed down. It's just like, so are they going to become members of the Water Tribe now?
Well, there's no fire around them, so they're helpless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny too because during that battle scene, it kind of looks like it's a bunch of Fire Nation fighting Fire Nation. Like, I didn't see much distinguishing between the soldiers.
There's not a lot of bending. It's just swords and melee clashing.
Spears too, like not even
Yeah.
swords.
What about that scene where like the 4 random waterbenders just show up, kill Zhao, and literally run away?
That's how you do a movie, right? You make extras kill off the bad guy so your hero doesn't have to do it. PG rating. In the original, after Aang has left the Avatar state, it appears that it's like the moon spirit itself is possessing water to drown Zhao. And Zhao basically accepts it because he doesn't want to accept Zuko's help. That's cool. That's powerful. That's interesting. 4 random nobodies showing up to just kill this guy by suffocating him in water in the middle of the air and then dropping his body on the... It's just like... what?
They gave him the Avatar equivalent of a force choke.
Why don't they do that with everyone then? If that's
Why
an
did it
option.
take 4 of them?
Because everyone's pathetic in this movie, Kuro. That's why. Because
Like 3 of them were able to make a giant ice wall to seal up the barrier.
I don't want to say pathetic, but I didn't find Ozai intimidating at all.
why was he revealed?
Ozai was goofy. He looked like a Willy Wonka type dude.
No, here's the craziest thing, right? So Ozai in the show, okay, in season 1, you see his like silhouette when he's about to Agni Kai Zuko, and that's basically it. You don't
Scary.
see yeah, and then in season 2, I believe you see him like from the side, like you see a little more of him, and then finally in season 3, we see pictures of him, and then eventually he shows up. That's cool. That's intimidating. In this movie, we just see him having a casual conversation with Zhao to the point where I'm like, is that the Fire Lord? I didn't even know. But then in the next scene with the Fire Lord and Zhao, you don't see his face. They zigzagged it. They literally revealed him and then decided to do the whole we're not going to show his face thing. How incompetent can you be?
I bet they shot that scene first, and then we're like, you know what? Let's just show his face. This is
Maybe.
too hard.
Maybe.
Why did they decide to speak like formal, like old-timey English too, and use words like sire?
Why was the Fire Lord even in this movie? When you have so much to adapt, why were they adding scenes?
They needed more antagonists than just Zhao and Zuko.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have rather like Kyoshi Warriors than whatever that earthbending
Yeah.
that whole fiasco was. And then they didn't even like show much too. They were like, all right, let's go save these people. And they proceeded to not save anybody. They just kept going.
I guess I'll also mention Momo, who is one of the biggest sources of comedic relief in the original. And in this, he just kind of like you see him flying around in some shots, and then he knocks down one of the waterbending scrolls.
You don't even hear him name Momo.
No.
He just
He
kind of
just shows up, and then
around.
like way later, he's like, I think he says like Momo once in the whole movie. Like when Momo's messing with the fish, he's like, Momo, be nice. And it's like, oh, okay, he has a name now.
Here's my pet theory. Okay, M. Night Shyamalan's a hack. Well, that's not really a theory. That's just a fact. But I'm sorry. I really don't appreciate his writing or directing. My theory is he did a terrible job shooting this movie. And the creators of Avatar...
Brian Knitsko and Mike DiMartino.
Yes, Bryke, as they're affectionately paired up as. They were executive producers, so they presumably had some sway, or at least some, like, they could see the movie. They, or some other executives, saw what he shot and were like, this is god-awful. And then that's why we ended up with so many narrations, and also so many really tight shots, because I guess it would probably be easier to CG it in if you have a very tight close-up on a face and then just a CG background, or like a green screen background in. That's my guess. Maybe he made like a 4-hour movie and someone had the task of cutting it to something that's for kids. Does that make sense? I just don't understand what happened.
I'm sure they cut corners at some point. Like, there's no way they didn't if it came out like this.
Yeah.
There's footage of an interview with Brian and Michael, the
Oh
creators
yeah.
of Last Airbender, and
Yeah.
they were like, yeah, we gave them so many notes and we were completely ignored.
I believe that. I believe it so much.
That's even worse than like not having them involved, is to like involve them and then deliberately ignore them.
Yeah. Well, All right, so let's talk a little bit then. What is the optimal way to adapt? Well, by the way, we did talk about this like a few dozen episodes ago. There is a live action Avatar being made for Netflix that's going to premiere next year.
Yeah, and this time it's a series.
Right. What is the optimal way to adapt Avatar to a movie? I have a few ideas. Do you guys have any thoughts on like how?
I do. I'm personally, a show like this or any like super mega serialized show, you can't really like just cram an entire season into a 2-hour movie.
Yes.
I would honestly, whether or not you want to make it canon, like you can make it canon, you can make it its own thing, but just make a self-contained story that if you were to make it canon would fit in, but not necessarily, just recapping what the show's already done. I would make a self-contained story. Kind of like what the Steven Universe movie seems to be doing, is like it's taking place after season 5, and then if there's a season 6, it might take place after the movie, or like the PPG movie where it's an origin story for the girls that fits in with the show but isn't just redoing everything that we've already seen.
And you can ignore it if you want.
That's how I would go about doing it.
Okay.
I would do something not extremely different, but like distinctly, like, you're trying to do something different. Because I feel like no matter how you try to adapt something like that, especially like an entire season of television in a movie, it's going to go wrong. People are always going to compare it to the original. So the best way to get around that is just from the get-go, do something different with the whole world. Like he tried to take a very long story and condense it. I would have just reworked the story where it would have happened in a shorter amount of time instead of trying to say everything. Just like do something different. Don't cut corners. Just rewrite the lore, rewrite the characters. If you're going to change so much, go all the way.
Mm-hmm. So my thinking is just that, like, well, first of all, Avatar as a show is like perfect in the medium that it is as animated, because for one, airbending does not, I don't think there's a way to make that look cool live action. I just don't. I think the other bending can look cool. Airbending can't really be represented too well unless he's in like a sandstorm or something. But like, so I would have never done it. But if they had to adapt it, I would say make it a trilogy for each season. Honestly, the first movie could be based around the first 2 episodes and maybe the Southern Air Temple. Maybe you make some sort of climax, I don't know, out of Jet or something. Like you add in one more episode to kind of make it a full arc with Zuko. Then you adapt the 2-parter that happens in the middle of the season where Aang goes to the spirit world and where he talks to Roku for the first time, and then adapt in a few other episodes after that. And then you do a whole movie that is just the Siege of the North, essentially. That's in an ideal world where they'd have the money to do that. But no, another thought I had is just Avatar is like probably, I think it's honestly the best show and one of the best pieces of media, period, in terms of creating a world. Everything from the clothes that the different nations wear, the foods, the animals, the cultures, the just everything, the backgrounds, the cities, also distinct and well known and well like defined. All you have to do is just create another story set in that world. And honestly, if you wanted to go completely crazy and different with it, you could potentially just make it a story where Aang isn't the last airbender. Here's a what-if story where Aang never froze himself in the ice and he has to quell current uprising in the Fire Nation. Go completely different with it.
Ooh, it could also, what if it was just a different Avatar altogether?
Yeah, that's entirely possible. But I don't think under any circumstance could you make a 2-hour or under film out of 20 episodes and make it make sense. There's no way. They tried way too hard to cram things in because it doesn't feel like a movie to me. It feels like a bunch of random scenes at random locations that only mean something if you actually know them from the show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of liked Iroh's character a bit. Like,
Really?
not as an adaptation of Iroh, but as his own thing. I kind of liked his element because he was like, I mean, he's obviously not the Iroh from the show, but he still played that kind of role where he was definitively on the Fire Nation side, but you can see he kind of didn't agree with the morality, and I liked his interactions with Zuko and Yue. But as an adaptation of Iroh specifically, I would be like, no.
One of the things that really shocked me is that when I was watching the original, in the last episode, the color change, right? when the koi is in the bag, everything turns red. When the koi is murdered, it goes black and white, except for firebending lighting things up. And then there's a blue aura when Aang is in the Avatar state. That is so cool. And that seems to me like if I was a director, okay, if I was the guy that was adapting the movie, I would be geeking out about like, okay, how can we represent this in live action? How can we make this use of color come to life in the real world and make it really cool? And they don't do it. They don't do it. Why? Does that not seem like something that's really like that's something that like a lighting person or like a color grader would go nuts for?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember when I watched it this morning, the animated version, I was like, wow, this is actually really cool. Like, I love this. And I mean, yeah, they made it turn red for like a second in the film.
Yeah, there's one shot it's red.
That's it. Like, okay, that doesn't really count. So, missed opportunity, big time.
What about when Zhao and Zuko fight at the end of season 1? It resolves their arc. But in the movie, Iroh was like, don't fight him. We don't have the budget for it.
Yeah, but then Iroh fights him.
No, Iroh stands there. He stands
Well,
there.
I mean, he blasts him with fire, but it's still like Iroh's like, don't do it, except if I want to do it.
Yeah,
Then it's
He
fine.
blasts him, he blasts all of the henchmen.
yeah, I mean, it's just like, why would you take out a cool fight? How about the cool fight with Zuko and Aang in the end of the second episode of the show, right? When Aang first escapes from the ship. There's none of that in the movie. Aang just gets on his glider and is like, bye!
The Agni Kai between Zhao and Zuko in the show is actually really cool too.
Yeah.
And instead it's just Zuko walking up behind Zhao at a dinner table and it's just like, you will bow down to me one day.
The Storm is a pretty standout episode of season 1 of Avatar. It's the episode where Aang tells the full story of the day he ran away and froze himself accidentally. And meanwhile, Iroh is telling the full story of Zuko and the Agni Kai and speaking out of turn. That's a really cool defining episode of the show. How is that adapted in the movie? Katara has a narration about Aang told me that he accidentally froze himself in ice for 100 years. And then, yeah, that weird thing where Zhao's like, as you all know, Prince Zuko is a disgraced prince. Ha 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 ha. It's like...
What the heck was that spiel at the end? Now that I think of it, at the end, like when Aang goes into the spirit world for the final time, Katara has this spiel where she's all like, Aang, I knew you were real from the beginning. Like what is she talking about?
Oh yeah, she's like, Ong, can you hear me? And it's like, didn't he just say he was gonna meditate? Why are you trying to mess with him right now?
And like in the cartoon, like Aang literally calls them out. He's like, guys, I can hear everything you're saying. And in the movie, there's none of that. No fun.
There's also a dumb change for like no reason that I can understand where in the show, Iroh, or at least it's implied that Iroh has been to the spirit world. Actually, no, Zhao outright says, like, I've heard about your gallivanting through the spirit world. In the movie, Iroh's like, oh, I hope I get to meet a spirit one day. And it's like, why did they change that? For what reason? You don't need, I mean, it's not like it needed to be in there that he went to the spirit world, but it's like, why explicitly say that he hasn't? Like,
They added a bunch of weird stuff to the Avatar mythology, like he's
Yeah.
the only one that can enter the spirit world, and the Avatar's not allowed to have a family.
Yeah, okay, well, hold on. Hang on. That reminds me. This movie is essentially like a Star Wars prequel. Like, not a prequel to Star Wars, but like the Star Wars prequel. Think about it, okay? Opening text crawl. Weird cinematography. The whole, like, I can't have a family. And, oh my god, Sokka and Yue's relationship reminded me so much of Anakin and Padme in the worst ways.
Yeah. Zuko in this movie is kind of like Kylo Ren, even though I know that's not a prequel. But just kind of like angsty teen. But like,
I think he did it well. I think for everything else in this movie, he does stand out as actually acting.
I think in this movie if you know anything about like the lore, I'm pretty sure like the whole concept of the Avatar taking inspiration from the Dalai Lama, who is found at a young age and is kind of like a spiritual Buddhist leader. You know, they train with monks and that sort of thing. But they pretty much take the concept of the Dalai Lama and paste it directly into this movie, and that's kind of more of their interpretation of who the Avatar is.
Yeah, how about the fact that we have two different scenes in this movie testing Aang to be the Avatar?
Yeah, and neither of them really made sense. So, like, Are candles always going to point towards Ong
Yeah.
whenever he walks by them, or only when he's taking the test?
I don't.
And if it's involuntary, then how does it happen in the first place?
Why is there no air version of that? Like, why doesn't he have just like
Yeah.
a bottle of air that's like deflates or something? I
It's a
Needs to
balloon.
carry around a balloon.
Oh gosh.
Or he needs to pass gas.
I wrote down Little Red Riding Aang because that's what he looks like in the beginning of the movie with his hood up. Sorry, Little Red Riding Ong. Maybe the face stealer demon was like all over this movie, and that's why no one was able to show emotions. What were they thinking with Sokka? Why take out everything about his personality? What is his personality in this film? Human.
Angst.
He's not angsty.
Yeah.
Angsty
The
about
dude,
what?
the guy who's there.
No, he's just like stone cold.
Yeah, I know. It's like, where's the sexism from Sokka that I missed?
You know what would probably have cut down on a lot of the time and might even rework the story into a shorter version, like I was suggesting, if Katara and Sokka weren't even in it. Like, if this version was just the story of Aang and Zuko, it'd be a lot tighter. They only have to worry about one relationship dynamic and, like, I guess some side ones, like Zuko and his father and stuff. Like, and if it was just them, I feel like the movie could be wonders better.
It's like Pokemon I Choose You.
Yeah, I mean, they could have downplayed Zhao or got rid of Zhao. Honestly, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he's a great character in the show, and like, but he is only in season 1 of the show. So if you could cut anything and have it still make sense for later movies, Zhao would be one of them. Why not just have Zuko just be the big bad?
It's the Grand Moff Tarkin.
Right. Maybe we don't know as much about Zuko's backstory. I mean, you know it if you watch the show, and then they'll get into it in season 2. But it's like between, because it really is. We go from Zuko to Zhao to Ong to Zuko to Zhao, and then mixed in between that is like, here's a 12-second flashback of Aang playing with the air nomads for no reason.
Yeah, they can show that, but they can't show him actually freeze in the ice. Like,
Yeah.
the flashbacks are just like,
Yeah.
I don't know, they're so pointless. They narrate things that we should see, and then they show us things that aren't important.
I know.
When they showed the Southern Air Temple, the set design on that is very bland. Like,
Yeah.
when you see it when you see it in the 3rd episode, it's so cool, and you know Aang's all happy and he's reminiscing on all the things he used to do. It's just like a cobblestone path in the woods.
Yeah, why is it so woodsy? It's not woodsy in the show because it's up really
It's
high.
just like a bunch of skulls. There's no temple. There's no fun things. There's no big seals. There's no room of stack shoes.
Right.
I mean, there is in the Northern Air Temple, but
Yeah, they weirdly like merge it with the Northern Air Temple. And then like the way they adapt Imprisoned is just it's oh god, it's so bad. In the show, okay, the Earthbenders, get this, are trapped on a metal ship, which they don't know they can bend that. Or they're not powerful enough to bend it. It hasn't been invented yet. But basically they're trapped in a place where they can't bend. And so their spirits are defeated, yes, but there's also not like an easy way for them to fight back. In the movie, they're just trapped in a camp just with tons of earth around, and there's dozens of earthbenders.
we're not allowed to.
Are they stupid? Like, why they like? There's a lot of cool things about that episode, like the fact that what gets Haru thrown in jail is that Haru and Katara save an old man who's basically doomed if they don't come and save him with earthbending, and that old man rats him out. Like that's cool. That's good storytelling. That's interesting. That's not in the movie. It's too interesting for the movie.
Aang just kind of like rolls into that like speech too.
Yeah.
Like, he's had it saved up.
Yep.
Gamers, rise up.
Way to steal Katara's thunder. Like,
And like when he starts shouting and everybody's listening, like have you ever tried like getting everybody's attention in like a public area? Like people 5 feet from me wouldn't even hear me.
well, and that's the point of the original episode too, is that they completely brush off Katara's speech. It's not enough to have a speech. It's like you have to motivate them to act through your own actions. There's just none of it. It's like, we talked about the bending, but it's like, I think the airbending looks like complete trash. I think the water bending, for some reason, they're obsessed with these tiny little water globs instead of doing anything else. Where's the water whip? Like, where's that move? It's not in the movie. And then earthbending, yeah, they're obsessed with little tiny baby rocks instead of like, God, if you see in the show, when Aang fights Boomy, Boomy's doing all sorts of crazy stuff. And that's not even to mention Toph. Like, Boomy digs down.
And it's so fast paced.
There's one shot at the very end, like you know the end credits, like the little animated
Yeah.
visuals and
Oh,
stuff.
the best part of the movie. Yeah.
The very, 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 very last thing, you see like a CGI Aang like doing some crazy earthbending moves, and I'm just like, this is proving to me that you guys are perfectly capable of doing this, and you're not doing it.
No, instead a guy has to do like 5 flips and like 3 somersaults and like 6 corkscrews, and then like it takes 5 seconds for a piece of rock to pop up.
Yeah, honestly, you could probably take like the plate footage and throw in some visual effects, and it would look amazing. It's just like, why is the elements not reacting to their bending? They're like, there's always such a slow delay too. Like they'll gesture their arms forward, and then the element will like slowly go after them. Like the fire kind of creeps up on you, the earth floats, the water like dribbles. Like nothing is fast. Everything is so dodgeable.
I love the stupidity of like when Zuko takes the fire from a candle to like throw it at Zhao in the meeting, and it's just this little piece of fire that's like floating through the air. That doesn't look real. That looks dumb. Like never, I don't think ever in the show is there just like a little piece of fire that like gently floats. No, they like shoot fire. Like it's a jet, you know, or a fireball or something like that. It's not like, whoop, here's a little candle flame coming up at you, Zhao. Oh Lord.
Creeping up on you.
Flameo Hotman. Yeah. I really enjoyed watching the show. I will definitely continue watching the show. It's very hard to watch season 1 and then not watch season 2, which is probably the best season.
I'm a big Zuko fan, so I'd say season 3.
Yeah.
Just because that's when he joins up.
But Zuko has some of his best stuff in season 2. Just saying.
Season 2 is very character development heavy.
Oh yeah, that's when he becomes an outlaw. But yeah, so did you guys like the show Avatar: The Last Airbender or the movie The Last Airbender?
Well, you know, I gotta be honest, this is a really tough call for me.
Yeah, why do you gotta do this to me, man?
I'm gonna go with the show, but only by a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean an immense amount that I can't even begin to describe.
Like a little pebble's worth.
Here's a better question then. Of all the things that we've made you guys watch on the recast, is this the worst thing?
I gotta think.
You know what? I'm gonna be completely honest here. I had more fun watching this movie than I did that Jungle Book one from 2016. So I will say,
oh my god.
I'm gonna be honest. This movie was so bad that like I was laughing. I laughed at how bad this movie was. I did not laugh once at Jungle Book 2016.
Yeah, I actually did laugh at some of the badness in this movie.
Which one would you have to watch again?
I would watch Last Airbender again.
Really? I'd watch Jungle Book.
I think I would too.
I would totally riff on how awful this film is instead of Jungle Book 2016.
But watching it alone, well, I don't know how you watched it. You probably watched it with your girlfriend. I watched The Last Airbender alone, and while I can see, like, I was laughing, I was, and while I could see how it could be a lot of fun to make fun of it with people, just to get through it, to watch this, like, to talk about it, I had to pause this thing like every 5 minutes because, like, it's so bad. Like I got a headache from the way they actually did the dialogue and the narration and explaining the Avatar, and Aang didn't know firebend, like all this other crap. They do it in such a bad roundabout way. I was getting a headache. I'll say it's up there with that of Jimmy's Head and Reanimated in particular. I'll say it's up there with that. I don't just scrolling through the episodes on my phone.
I had so much fun watching Reanimated. That was so fun. Did you not laugh out loud when he got hit by the train?
Well,
He
yes,
flew
but I
upwards?
just watched that on a loop every morning.
I remember liking Reanimated as a kid, and I don't want to rewatch it because it's probably garbage, and I don't want to have that ruined.
Remember when we watched the live action Ben 10 movies? Imagine something 80 million times worse than that.
Oh.
And not attached to like a franchise that you're in love with.
The only thing I remember about that entire franchise was that weird 3D episode they tried to do.
Hey, yeah, the Halloween episode. Someone else remembers.
Yeah. And they were like, print out your 3D glasses at Cartoon Network. And I was thinking, how is that going to work? Like, don't you need a special material? I still don't know to this day how that was supposed to work. You can't just print 3D glasses.
I think they just banked on you having them from previous things.
Yeah, Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
This movie reminded me of Shark Boy and Lava Girl. I don't know why.
Because there's
this character from Twilight in it.
Yeah, but Shark Boy and Lava Girl at least... Shark Boy and Lava Girl had better fights than this movie.
There was a girl shark and Lava Boy. I don't know if I want to say some of the blame goes this way, but do you think that people would be more forgiving or appreciate or enjoy this movie more if the original animated series wasn't as good as it was, because I feel like because of how good the original animated series is, that sets a lot of high expectations. And obviously the movie as it stands is really, really, really bad, don't get me wrong, but do you think people would be more forgiving towards it?
No, the movie is an absolute train wreck from go. For the story is completely jumbled and incomprehensible. The acting is completely dead on arrival. There's absolutely no spectacle or magic feeling to the bending in it. No, nothing about this works. I'm just saying, if anything, I feel like being attached to one of the most beloved animated series of all times has helped to this film.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying, like, we have an example of how to do it correctly, and that's the show. So if the show didn't do it correctly, and the movie also didn't do it correctly,
well,
then this would just be a garbage franchise, and we wouldn't be talking about it.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that from like a technical standpoint, okay, the cinematography is still egregious anyways.
God-awful.
With the unnecessary close-ups or the extreme lack of continuity editing. Like, there are shots where all of a sudden the characters are just in a different place, and it's like, whoa, how did we get here? What is going on?
No establishing shots. Just it's all like close-ups in this movie.
Yeah, it's just close-ups and cutting from one place to the next.
Oh yeah, there's one super jarring one with Zuko. He sails out on the boat, and then the very next shot, his hood is up.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's like ready to dive into the water in a completely different area. And it's not even like they went somewhere else and came back to Zuko. It's like the very next frame.
Yep.
He's like, yeah.
Yeah, and like with all the narration and the skipping past all this stuff, it's impossible to get any cohesion out of it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like had I not watched the episodes beforehand, I would not know what's going on at all. And I know Pi even said he watched the episodes and didn't know what was going on. So like,
Right, like,
yeah, I would say even if the show itself wasn't as good as it was, it's still a terribly slapped together movie.
yeah. Why, Monsters? Do you feel differently?
No. I was just trying to pose a question to hear some different perspectives.
Okay.
I think we all have the same perspective on this.
Yeah.
The Last Airbender brings people together, man. There was rumors, I think as late as like last year, that there's going to be a sequel to this film, but
He tried.
There is no way. There is no way on earth. I think
It made money.
yeah, but like I think that if they felt the need to do it, as clearly as shown by the Netflix version, they would just like redo it. I think they would do like either a TV show live action as they're doing, or if they were going to do a movie, they wouldn't continue that. I mean, all the actors are like 10 years old. Well, they're literally 10 years older now.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably why a lot of the acting is bad and why they seem like young and they didn't Dawson cast them, is because M. Night Shyamalan thought he was going to get a trilogy out of this. So you cast him young because, you're going to make one of these movies every year, and then by the time it's over, even though it's supposed to take place the same year, Aang will be like 15.
Oh yeah, at the end they tried to prepare for that by saying Sozum's comet will return in 3 years to like give them time to make the movies.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh wow, there's some expectations coming here.
Oh, man. Oh, how many times did they keep mentioning that he got that scroll from the library?
Yeah, what was up with that? Like that and Bossy and Say, like it's like they were trying to set up for something. Like this whole
Yeah, in the show, Zhao does mention that he got it from an underground library. Wink, wink, wink. But that's it. There's one mention of that. In the movie, it's like, hey, you guys remember that really cool episode where they're in the desert? Get ready for that. I don't know why M. Night's a hillbilly now, but he is. Consarn it. I can't wait for this Avatar book, too.
we're gonna round up all the Nickelodeon fans.
Okay, what would the sequel to this movie have been called? The Last Airbender 2 Earth?
The second to last Airbender.
Second to last.
The Last Airbender. Journey to the Center of the Earth.
The Last Airbender and Friends.
Second to Last Airbender, where they introduce like Anget, where it's just
His
this
twin
female
sister.
Airbender that's not in the show. Yeah, that M. Night just really felt that was important to the show to have Shmang and Aang be Aang. Her name is Aang just to make it more confusing.
Oh, do you?
What is okay?
Aang and Ung.
What is up with Arvatar? That's the one that the names I think is dumb because they're character names, but fine.
Avatar.
If you want to say that like it's more correct to the backgrounds they're drawing from, I don't know if that's true, but sure. Avatar is a word. It's an English word Why is there an R in it now?
I didn't hear an R. I just heard Avatar.
And not even everybody says it too. Like some people clearly say Avatar. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe they're Canadian. I don't know. Avatar, eh?
M Night's all confused here. Like I feel
What a
like
twist.
because it seems like in some regards with with casting and certain martial arts things and the pronunciations, he's trying to be culturally faithful in some aspects, but like those don't matter. And the aspects where he's not culturally faithful, people got pretty upset about.
Well, that's the thing. You either go all the way or you don't. I mean, if you're saying that you're changing the names to be more culturally sensitive, if that's what he did, I don't even know that if that's why the names are changed pronunciation-wise. But you can't do that and then not cast correctly, too. You know what I mean? Like, either you're faithful to the original and you don't care about casting with ethnicity in mind, or you do, in which case, you do it. You do it all the way.
do you think it was a miss? Actually, yeah, never mind. I was gonna say, like, do you wish they tried to weave in a little bit of Katara and Aang relationship in there? But I don't know. That probably would
Oh
have
god,
just.
this movie didn't need anything else.
Aang, I knew you were real.
You the
I
realist,
hope
bro.
so.
But the Avatar cannot have a family. Did you guys enjoy watching the original show?
I did a lot more than I thought it was. I
very
always
much
had a
so.
bad vibe about season 1, but it's just the first 2 or 3 episodes. Like they're a bit tough for me personally to get through. But
Yeah, no, I agree. When I was a kid, I actually watched the first 2 and I'm like, this doesn't look great. Like they're not unwatchable by any means. They're not even that different, but the animation is a little rougher than it goes on to be. I mean, the animation goes on to be amazing. And then also there is like a lot of goofiness thrown in. Like Aang is defrosted because Sokka is sexist, essentially. That's like the story there. But no, I mean the show pretty fastly becomes something really crazy. And something that I noticed is like they say death and kill so many times in the show. For a Nickelodeon show, holy cow. When other shows like, well, I don't know, you tell me, Kuro. Danny Phantom, isn't it like
yeah,
destroy?
it's like I'll destroy you. I'll defeat you.
You'll face your doom. You'll face destruction. Like
Take away your life force. Send him to the doom dimension. All that stuff.
yeah. I'll what is it? The Shadow Realm and
The Shadow Realm. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, like a lot of other shows weren't allowed to do it. But Avatar to me will always be this insane fluke when nothing else Nickelodeon has aired, save for Korra, has ever been anything close to tonally the same as Avatar. Like, what was this airing next to? Danny Phantom? Like, what?
A cat scratch.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I guess My Life as a Teenage Robot, which is like, okay, I mean that show has action, but it's that's a comedy show. There's no other show on Nickelodeon. They never tried it again, despite, well, aside from Korra. So I don't know. It's just I would love to hear more about the story of how the show actually came to be, because it had a surprisingly big budget. It had a lot of passion. It had nothing to do with anything else on Nickelodeon, and Nickelodeon let it be. Aside from a few issues with airing too many marathons or whatever, like new episode marathons, Nickelodeon really didn't screw over the original show, Avatar: The Last Airbender.
It's interesting to think that Aang is a Nicktoon. And
Yeah.
like when he was marketed as one, like I remember when I was like 10, I had a Nickelodeon version of Seen It, and all of the pieces were like SpongeBob, Cosmo and Wanda, and a couple others, and then Aang, and just everything like with his involvement in the game just seems so different. Like it is weird that it was on Nickelodeon.
Right. Well, there's also Nicktoons MLB Baseball, where you can play as Ultra Lord.
What?
SpongeBob. You ever want to see Aang play baseball? All right. Well, that's that. If you have never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender, the show, watch it, dude. It's like 60 episodes. It had a Blu-ray release recently, which is really nice. It's on DVD. I sometimes it pops up on streaming services. I don't think it's on any right now, but
It's on Hulu if you got a VPN. That's how I watched it. It's on Hulu Canada.
oh, eh.
Yeah,
All right. Are you guys ready for trivia.
Quizitize me, Captain.
Let's get it.
So do you guys remember in episode 30 where I asked you if you got... Do you remember what the trivia was in episode 30?
Wasn't the trivia in episode 30 trivia on something else?
Wasn't that where we had to guess each other's answers for episode like 10 or something?
Yeah.
Yes. Well, on episode
my
50,
gosh.
you have to guess what your answer to what the other person's answer was from episode 10.
Oh my god.
Oh, man.
my God.
It's all...
No,
I got-
not actually.
gonna be like,
No,
actually-
not really.
Oh.
No.
Oh, man.
Instead, I'm just going to ask you the trivia questions from episode 10 one more time to see if you guys have been paying attention.
All right.
Okay.
Let's do it.
So the way this works is I'm just going to read a description, and you have to tell me what show it is, whether it's original Ben 10 reboot, original Powerpuff Girls, or Powerpuff Girls reboot. The way we're going to do this for once is that Shadow is going to go first.
Oh.
Because Shadow always goes last and gets that unfair advantage. Not this time, friend.
Alrighty.
And then second is going to be Monsters, and then Kuro is in best position. And that's how it be for once, Kuro. You're welcome.
Why, thank you.
I can take score if you'd like me to.
Yes, please. All right. So the first prompt, when the professor is kidnapped, the girls must go to a mysterious island to save him. Is this from the original Powerpuff Girls reboot, Ben 10, or Ben 10 reboot?
When the professor is kidnapped,
The
The
girls
Powerpuff Girls-
must go to a mysterious island to save him.
all right, well, I can tell you for a fact. Well, I shouldn't say for a fact because that's just giving them. Yeah, I'm just gonna
Too
shut
late.
up. I'm just gonna shut up. All right, I'm gonna say reboot.
But Shadow trolling?
Reboot.
See, I was going to say original because I didn't think the professor was relevant in the reboot. I mean, I don't want to change my answer just because I heard you guys, so I'll still say original because that's what I was going to say.
All right. You can if you want.
Yeah, I'll say original. I'll say original. Just yeah, I'll go. with
Kuro
it.
wants to be an original,
Yeah.
and that's going to cost him a point here.
That's what I get for being a good man.
So that's 1 point Shadow, 1 point Monsters, 0 point Kuro. Monsters, what is the title of this episode? Do you remember?
It's not split. I think it's Salamander. Is it Salamander?
Yes.
It is. Very good. You don't get any points for that, but I'm impressed. On to prompt number 2. Ben finds people making shows about his alien forms.
Ben finds people making. See, I don't know any of the Ben 10 ones. So,
This could be from the
finds
Powerpuff
people-
Girls. You don't know.
I'm gonna go with Ben 10 reboot.
Ben 10 original.
And Kuro.
I almost got tripped up because they do that 3 times in the original. But it's the original. Like in the classic series, there's a TV show based on his aliens. In Ultimate Alien, there's a play. In Omniverse, there's a radio show. Like people just keep ripping them off. But yeah, it's the original.
Yep, so it is the original. So Shadow got that one wrong.
Yeah, boy.
Monsters, you got that one right?
Monsters
Yep.
is doubling
All
up.
right, I got 2, and then Shadow and Kuro have 1 apiece.
That's
Alright.
Super Alien Hero Buddy Adventures.
Very
I believe
good.
Was the title.
Mm-hmm. When did it air? What day?
Oh crap! But I know it was season 3, so it must have been 2006. I want to say. Oh, really?
February 24th, 2007.
No. Oh wow, that's okay. Yeah, that's early in 2007.
Yep. Okay, prompt number 3. The girls enter the mayor's dream world to find the source of his nightmares.
Powerpuff original, obviously.
No, that's not
Not-
obvious. It could be.
It's not Ben 10.
It could be the episode with Gwen and Hex going into the
Yeah.
the mayor of what's the city in Ben 10?
Oh, Bellwood.
Oh, right. Yeah. Sure. Anyway, Monsters, what's your answer?
I mean, Shadow just said original, and he knows his Powerpuff Girls, but this also this sounds like a fever dream where the girls go up in the clouds and meet a twerking panda. So I'll say reboot.
The girls enter the mayor's dream world to find the source of his nightmares.
I'm gonna say original.
Does anyone know the title of this episode?
Nightmare.
Yeah, it is. It's Nightmare. Monsters, you're wrong.
Dang it.
That's
Are we all tied up right now?
Yeah.
ooh, 2's all around.
Oh boy.
Nice. Prompt number and there's a lot of prompts here. There's 8 prompts. There's a little more than we usually do, but it's a special episode.
Okay.
Number 4, when a mysterious rain cloud plagues town.
Oh my god.
Bubbles learns.
It's never gonna die. It's never gonna die.
Let me say the prompt. When,
Okay.
when a mys- when a myster-
Oh my god.
When a mysterious rain cloud plagues Townsville, Bubbles learns things aren't what they seem.
Powerpuff reboot.
Reboot.
Reboot of what, Monsters?
The Powerpuff Girls.
I'll go with reboot. I haven't said reboot for Powerpuff Girls yet, I don't think.
Okay. It is indeed.
Largo. No, I'm not even letting you finish your sentence. Largo. Next
Not
question.
Nano of the North.
We're
it's
done.
Largo.
All
We are done.
You're all at 3 then. Number 5. When the mayor's mansion is stalked by a vicious monster, the girls must step in to help.
Powerpuff reboot.
Powerpuff Girls reboot.
I'm gonna say original.
You're gonna be wrong. What's the title of this one?
Midnight at the Mayor's Mansion.
No.
Yeah, it is.
I reviewed that episode like a month and a half ago.
Wow. It seemed like a ways away when we first talked about it. Remember?
Right? Yeah, it's crazy how time flies.
Okay, so that puts Monsters and Shadow at
4.
4 and Kuro at 3. Prompt number 6. This one's a personal favorite of mine.
Oh, is it what I think it is?
Oh crap. I think I know what this is.
3 crooks.
Stop. No.
Everybody say it in unison. 3 crooks
Crooks
steal the rust
bucket.
A
Okay.
trio of ne'er-do-wells acquire the vehicle that Ben travels around in. AKA 3 crooks steal the rust bucket. But which one was it? Do you remember, Shadow? Do you remember? What are you
No.
gonna say, bud? What are you gonna say?
Well, both is not an option, so I can't say that this time.
Well, might
Neither.
be an option this time.
No, it's not an option. I'm not falling for your tricks.
Or my tricks. That wouldn't have happened if I started second guessing.
Right? Maybe it's Omniverse. Like, maybe you're just tricking us and it's not even the reboot or the original. Like, how am I supposed to know, right?
Maybe it's not even Ben 10. Maybe it's like Benjamin Franklin from Liberty Kids or something. Yeah.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Some guy
I
stole
call,
his motorhome.
Ben Schwartz.
Okay. Well, since the original was an answer for a previous one, I'm going to go with the Ben 10 reboot.
Monsters.
I bet I'm wrong again.
Can I just say both and take like the loss of a point for this one? I like because it's the 50th episode. I feel the need to say both.
It's never an option, Monsters.
Fine. How about neither? I'm joking.
He got you there.
I'll say the original.
This is the original.
This is indeed the original.
I want to flip my
Hey.
desk. Oh my gosh.
Yep. It's season 4, Ben 4, good buddy.
Yup. So Monsters is actually up right now at 5, right?
Yep.
And you guys both have 4?
I'm ready to be done.
I always lose trivia.
We're playing favorites right now because he's the co-host.
I think I lost the original.
Shadow had 7 out of 8, only losing because of both. Monsters had 4, Crow had 5. All right, 2 more. The girls learn to appreciate each other's style after having to each fight solo.
Okay, that is Powerpuff Reboot.
Powerpuff Girls reboot.
Oh man, this sounds like it could be both. But every time I say the original, it's not the original. I'm scared. Yeah, because this sounds like it could be a good original episode. Like that would be a good character reflection episode.
Yeah, think about which one is more centric on fashion lines and style.
I'll say the reboot.
Well, what's the title of this one?
Splitsville.
That's Splitsville.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's from the reboot.
I remember what the last one is.
Shush.
I'm so proud of remembering.
I think
what
I
the
remember
All
last
right,
one
well then you'll go last.
was. Okay.
I have 6. Kuro has 5, and Shadow has 5.
All right, last prompt, and Shadow, you're gonna go last.
Okay, I know what it is.
You know what? I'll make Monsters go first then, since he's
Okay.
in the lead.
So we either lose to Monsters or tie with him at best.
Ben and Billy Billions clash in a duel for supremacy at the laser tag park. But when Billy inadvertently ignites a robot rebellion, their game escalates into a full-blown war.
What kind of park?
Laser tag.
Um,
Does that make a difference? Like,
no, I'm gonna say reboot.
Kuro
Reboot.
and Mr. Streak.
It's the reboot.
What
'cause
is the
it's
title?
Don't laze me,
Yes.
bro.
That's okay. I wanted to make sure.
Oh, I love it. Because I've actually seen that episode too.
All right, well, Monsters wins
Yay.
for once.
It only took 50 episodes.
Yay.
I know.
Next time it'll be harder.
Did we do better or worse than last time? I think I did a little better.
I think I did one worse because I guessed the first Ben 10 one and got it right by sheer
Well,
luck.
because Kuro went first when we did it the first time, which means y'all could copy him for the Ben 10 stuff.
Oh, that's
I don't think
true.
we did very well at that though. Like, I know Shadow and I both got the three crooks question wrong.
Yeah. No,
Yep.
Monsters, you did a lot better. You had 4 the first time. Kuro, you did better. You had 5, and Shadow, yeah, you did worse. You had 7.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome. And thank you guys for being on the recast episode 50.
It's a pleasure to be here. The discussion was great. Probably one of the most, I guess, in unison discussions we've had in regards of our opinion. We didn't really discuss anything. We kind of just crapped on this movie for an hour and a half. But it was fun. This whole recording session just flew right by, and it just shows you guys really have the inner workings of this recast down, and I can only see it improving in the future.
And I want to thank the audience. I mean, really, we do have a great audience participation. I don't know that I would want to be doing the next 25 to 50 to 100 episodes of the recast if it weren't for the fans cheering us on.
I agree with that.
To get real, we were considering changing the podcast entirely.
Yeah.
Just doing something entirely different, but from just the amount of support we've gotten from our guests, from our Discord server, from the comments, from each other, from
The continued feedback.
right, looking back at what we've done, I mean, I know a lot of people said at the start, or a few people said oh, you probably don't have enough ideas to stretch it past episode 12, and we might further expand upon what we consider to be a in the recast or whatever, but I think we've done a lot of really interesting discussions about a lot of different types of reimaginings of things, and we've learned a lot. We've talked a lot. We've not all of it's bad, not all of it's good. I think I've kind of refined my taste a little bit about what I like in a retelling or reimagining or adaptation. Any parting words, Monsters?
Planet Sheen, Sausage Party, Camp Laszlo. That's
He's
it.
reading his weekend to-do list.
Well, we will see you next week on the new and improved recast. As always, please leave some feedback in the Discord server. PIEGUYRULZ, out.
Keep it fizzy.
Au revoir.
Catch you guys next time.